Okay, I see go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for spending the time and your attention for the next talk. In the world of increasing automation where computers need us less and less, we're going to talk about something very human today, which is taste and how to work on your personal taste, how to try and apply taste in organizations, and how taste lives and evolves in the world of AI. If you're in this room, there are high chances you're spending a lot of time on crypto Twitter and on Twitter at all, on X, and you've probably seen all those right now becoming modern cliche posts of how taste is the mode in the age of AI, how taste is the a differentiator in the world of AI. And while this is becoming a cliche, it's for a reason. Why taste matters now? I'm a non-technical, I'm a marketer, and in the last 3 months, I've already shipped three apps with full front-end, back-end servers running. Our technical people at the organization are doing logo designs, and everyone is doing everything thanks to AI. Execution is commoditized, anyone can design, code, write, and particularly do any content, and output is abundant. However, what AI hasn't figured out yet how to automate is the judgment on what should be created, what shouldn't be created. In organizations, what you've most probably already experienced, at least we do, is that AI is becoming a facilitator of both the good and the bad. When you combine good people, like people with quality judgment, qualified people with AI, they become turbocharged and create awesome stuff. The people who have less of a judgment, they create the AI slop. And yeah, what matters now is what should exist, what also shouldn't exist, what to remove, and what fits to the context. And yeah, AI exposes the absence of taste. However, what is taste? We're going to be repeating the word taste a lot, as you already seen, but what is it taste? As a definition, what I try to come up with is the ability to choose what not to do, a trained sensitivity to quality and proportion. Taste is built for a long time. It takes a lot of manual labor, exposing yourself to different creations. Taste is context-aware, meaning that there's no single definition of good taste. There's no right taste. Taste is always the right in a certain context. And it's largely about filtering, as I already said. Taste is editing, everything else is production. All right, taste is coherence. Taste is where everything fits together and nothing feels accidental. Taste is about cutting words, features, visuals, and everything that's too much or doesn't serve the purpose. Taste is a point of view. Taste is usually personal, or if you're a company or organization, you can have a taste as an organization, and it's a clear stance on what matters and what doesn't from this point of view. Taste is not trends. Trends are driven by timing, distribution, and social proof. The things that you usually see trending, both in music, fashion, art, and whatever, are not always a display of good taste. They're a display of fashion, something that's managed to quickly hack the algorithms and become popular. Taste is not maximalism. You'll see this with AI. In particular, because AI will always try to produce more, do lengthy sentences, do rich designs, but maximalism sometimes hides weak judgment. Taste is not imitation. Imitation can be a good taste. However, you have to know what and why you are imitating. Otherwise, it's just trying to copy something, and copying is bad taste. Taste is not algorithms. Here I picked an example that I want to show you. These are 3 cafes that are real cafes existing in the world. One is here in Prague, the other is in Tokyo, the other one is in Mexico. If you look closely, you'll see these are good taste, objectively. It's, the nice shelves, the white walls, the hanging lamps from the ceiling, everything is fine here. However, they look too similar. And well, this is a good taste, it's too homogenized, and it's too similar, and at some point it loses its character. But why is that? My theory, it's not mine only, but I really believe that this is more of a culture than just taste. Culture is when someone's taste is being repeated for some reason, it becomes a norm. Norms are usually incentivized and products optimize for incentives. What this means? Someone somewhere created the first modern specialty cafe with the white walls and everything. This was picked by algorithm. For example, on some of the mood boards type of social networks like Pinterest and Instagram, and it got a lot of likes. The algorithms, they adapt when they see that something is getting users' attention. They adapt for it, and they start showing it over and over and over. At some point, there were people who decided to create a modern cafe, and naturally they opened their Pinterest or their Instagram, and what they saw was this type of cafes. And at some point, everyone started copying the same thing that the algorithms like, the same design, the same interior, which is not bad. However, my point here is that if you rely only on algorithms to build your taste, you end up with the same thing that everyone is doing. And for me, the best thing that you can do with developing your own taste is being your own, being distinct, and telling something to everyone about you. On the rightmost image, you can see an experiment I did with ChatGPT. I prompted it to imagine a photo of a cafe interior without any other context. And it basically nailed it, the shelves, the white wall, the everything. So yeah, AIs are even reinforcing the algorithmic curation of taste. Okay, now the practical part, how to build taste. First of all, exposure to quality. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, developing a taste takes exposing yourself to a lot of work, being it music, arts, or paintings, or any art, being it user interfaces, if you're a designer, being it just testing a lot of products or apps, if you're trying to build a good taste in how apps should work, because taste is not only about creativity and about arts, it's about everything around us. You can have a bad taste when creating an app, so in order to build good taste, you have to expose yourself and consume I've written high quality work, but for me it's most important to both consume high quality but also high amounts of work. By consuming a lot of work, you start noticing patterns. And for me, everything that looks good and it's good taste is rhyming something that was similar and created before. And it's important to be able to learn to notice patterns, because once you start noticing patterns and working on patterns, you can create your own patterns. This is a short example. Who recognizes the image on the left? Like the movie. Okay, 1, 2, 3, nice. Well, it's a scene from The Wolf of Wall Street when the super high Leonardo tries to get out of the Countach. On the right, you can see a short video that we did using AI for Ambire. And we wanted it to resonate to people who are into crypto, finance, and so on. So we picked, a movie about finance, and we replicated the exact same scene, replacing it with, with a cat, because the concept of the video was we're creating a wallet so easy that even cats can use it. Experience. Okay, this might sound a little bit pretentious, but beyond consuming, you can build taste consuming art and work and whatever on your phone, on your laptop. However, doing side quests and just experiencing new stuff in real life is also a super important part of building your own taste. And if you don't do new stuff and challenge yourself and go out of your comfort zone, you hardly build a really, so to say, rich taste. For example, if you look on your right, you'll see this fresco of, it's a very traditional Art Nouveau fresco where you see a nice garden with golden light, an angel playing on the left, beautiful muscular man and a beautiful woman celebrating love, perhaps listening to romantic music, which is a super standard theme for Art Nouveau for the late 19th century. And all this, I wouldn't have learned it and put it in my taste reference book if I hadn't done the side quest by coming to Prague and participating in the conference. So you get the point. Comparison. Why is one thing better than the other? What exactly feels off or right? Comparing good stuff to bad stuff or good stuff to other stuff that might be good or not is important because it trains discrimination. This is the core of taste, knowing what is good taste, what is not, according to your personal compass. I've left these two images. I won't be interpreting. I'll leave them to you to interpret. One might be a good taste, the other might be not. One is La Pietà by Michelangelo. The other one was latest Banksy artwork. Okay, something very important that I missed in the beginning. What am I doing? I'm the head of marketing at Ambar Wallet. We're building one of the, for me, pioneering account abstraction wallets in the EVM space. And beyond doing the marketing and the comms of Ambar, I'm heavily involved in the product development as well, the UIs, the UX, and so on. And on the point of comparison, at some point at Ambar, a few months ago, we started receiving feedback that compared to other wallets, our UI is a little bit lagging in terms of feeling modern, feeling nice. The first thing we did was comparison. We stacked all the competitor wallets side by side, and we started comparing them, looking for patterns, things that we like in most of our competitors, things we don't like, noticing patterns, challenging what we've built against those patterns, and we saw a lot of things that we could improve and eventually did improve. You can read more about the process if you scan the QR. Feedback loops. Your judgments improve when they are tested. Feedback loops and feedback can be external and internal. External, having others comment on what you're building, on what you're doing, what you're creating. Internal, revisiting your work after time and seeing if it was good with your current taste right now. Was it good back in a time or no? Creation is the critical step. Making things exposes the gap between what you admire, what you can produce, and that gap trains taste faster than passive consumption. In simple words, just do create stuff. You can't build taste only by consuming, you have to be creating as well. Pick a creative hobby. This I'm being serious about. Many, let's say, technical people or developers will think that they are not creative because they write code and everything. The more you think you're not creative, the more important to pick a hobby where you don't expect anything, but it will train your taste eventually. Reduction in strength. I'm going to be repeating this many times today. Eliminating excess, cutting the fat, and letting things breathe. This is especially important. When you write something, always rewrite it shorter. When you create something, think if you can do it with less. This is an old version of our wallet, and these are all things that we eventually cut. Repetition, things that are redundant already. Standard UX practice, however, it's important to always remind yourself to look at your work and think if this work can be compressed even further, especially in the time where we live with low attention spans and so on. How to build internal standards. How to apply good taste in your organization. Define what good means. Comment. We think that this is good, we think that this is not good. What would your brand never do or stand for? Be prepared to know a situation where you'll be tempted to take advantage of in communication or doing something about it, having a stance. But if it is something that is super against your beliefs, you should always have the compass and know that this would be bad taste in the context of our organization. Build critic culture instead of approval culture. Within an organization, the higher you are in the hierarchy, the more confident you should be to let people who are lower than you to criticize and to comment on the stuff you're doing. Confirmation kills good taste. However, have dictators. Sometimes there will be many people within your organization that are trying to come up with decision on what should be or shouldn't be done. The bigger the conversation becomes, the harder you take a singular decision. You should always have a dictator who will take the responsibility and make the decision eventually. They might not always be right. They should be calm and confident that even if they do make a mistake, they'll probably improve next time. However, you should trust those. How to critique work without hand waving. First of all, the most important thing, ask questions. Ask questions and avoid things like, this feels off, I might need a little bit more. You should always ask questions. Does everything support the same idea that we had in the beginning when we started creating this? What can be removed again? Could this belong to anyone else? What makes this unique to us? What makes us create this? What should the user feel? What emotions do we want to evoke with this? Do we evoke them? How to avoid AI mediocrity? Okay, AI can produce a lot, and it doesn't complain and doesn't expect anything. So as long as you have the tokens, you can use AI for divergence, meaning for creating more and more and more variants that you can pick up from or get inspired from, but not for decisions. Always put a human in the loop. Inject point of view manually. At the end, you should pick the decision manually. Be weird, humans are weird. You know, AI systems and algorithms are deterministic. Their outcome is always predictable. However, the beautiful thing about humans is that they are random. They, under different contexts, they produce different things. So be weird and curate aggressively. Again, cut, remove, and so on. Yeah, an example with Dunbar again. There was a conference a few months ago. We needed a stunt on the stage. What we did is we picked a choir of 14 Bulgarian grandmas that are singing folklore songs. We manually wrote a song about crypto, about Ether and Bitcoin. They rehearsed it for 2 weeks. They got on the stage and they sang the song. This you can't make with AI. So be weird, be human, improvise. Final takeaways. All right. Taste is indeed one of the things Claude hasn't automated yet for now. Everyone can develop tastes. It's just a matter of long life study and experience. Yes, it takes time, it takes effort, but you should put the effort if you want to stay relevant. Don't rely on algorithms to build your taste. You can rely on algorithms. However, if you want to build a unique taste and bring something new to the table, you should do it on your own. Your company reflects your team's culture or collective taste. So invest in building a good company taste and taste as an organization. And yeah, go read a book, watch a movie, improvise, create stuff. This is the way to build taste. And yeah, last the quotes. In a world where everything can be made, the advantage is knowing what shouldn't. And thank you, everyone. That was all from me.
Thank you so much. I love this. Be weird and be human above all,
Yep.
because I think we forget this. Like, humans have evolved over literally hundreds of thousands of years to be what we are today. And it annoys me that we try to optimize everything, measure everything. Just be weird, enjoy yourself. Don't feel guilty for enjoying yourself. A bit of healthy hedonism, I think, is very much worth it. Any questions for Ivan?
Yes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
You mentioned to expose yourself to quality work, but I guess essentially, how do you recommend doing that? Because I'm guessing everyone thinks that's what they do. For example, also the people who open a cafe, they expose themselves to quality work and probably went then to Instagram and Pinterest to see what does a good cafe look like. So how, what's your recommendation to say, okay, I am exposing myself to quality work?
I get it. Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. In this case, well, a disclaimer, I haven't opened a single cafe in my life. However, if I was to open a cafe in Prague, what I would try to do, first, I'm going to expose myself to quality works in terms of interior design. Okay, see materials, what I can achieve, what I can afford, see what's in there done already. However, I would also do the manual labor to try and make it context-aware and try to get inspired by the context, by Art Nouveau. Most probably, I will open a cafe, but I'll put a fresco on it, so that when you're in it, you see the cafe and everything, but there's a fresco, Art Nouveau fresco. It's Prague related. It's context aware. So yeah, I think that you can always. It's a matter of doing more research, for me at least. Yeah, yeah.
And maybe quick second question: what was your outcome of the redesign of the Empire app? What was the outcome? How did the redesign of the Empire app perform?
Oh, but yeah, well, the outcome was good. This is an amazing question first, because I forgot to tell about that. In Empire, we are trying to implement a culture where every new thing that we ship, we hit it against the feedback loop, the external feedback loop. So we test it with people until we identify a pattern that is bad and needs to be fixed. So with this particular redesign, we did quite a lot of interviews before we did the redesign. So we know what many people would like to see and what not. Of course, we took some decisions, improvising and taking the leap of faith. However, it turned out to be a good one. But yeah, you should check it for yourself. Probably, yeah.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have in terms of questions. But just one last point about taste. How many of you think that the venue that we're in is pretty nice? Okay, good. Whoever's not putting their hand up, you're insane. But actually, you would have been in the majority of early 20th century people. When this municipal house was open, people were disgusted. They thought that it was outdated, kitsch, that it's like absolutely terrible design-wise. Now we love it, and we're drooling over it. So it is, I think, really important and interesting to note how culture and specificities and time really, really change what we consider to be good design or tasteful, etc. So thank you very much, Ivan, for opening our minds to that one. Round of applause, please. Thank you.